Imagine a book so vast that it takes two people to lift, a manuscript that has survived for centuries yet remains cloaked in mystery and legend. Known as the Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible, this medieval masterpiece is more than just a colossal book. It's a window into the fears, beliefs, and ambitions of an entire era. Measuring 3 feet long and weighing 165 pounds, this manuscript is the largest surviving artifact of its kind. But its size is only the beginning of its intrigue. The Codex Gigas is said to contain forbidden knowledge, secrets so dark that some believe they could unlock the gates of hell itself. What makes this book even more extraordinary is its content, a collection of texts ranging from the entire Vulgate Bible to magical formulas and medical treatises, alongside a chilling full-page illustration of the devil. Was it a product of devotion or heresy? Was its creation fueled by divine inspiration, or was it the result of a pact with the devil? In this exploration, we'll uncover the Codex Gigas's incredible history, from its origins in a Benedictine monastery to its dramatic role in the 30 Years' War, and the myths that continue to haunt its pages. What drove its creation? Who was the mysterious scribe behind it? And why does it remain one of the most enigmatic books in history? Join us as we unravel the secrets of the Devil's Bible, a manuscript that blurs the line between faith and fear, between the sacred and the forbidden. The year was 1648, and Europe was drenched in blood. For 3 long decades, the 30 Years' War had ravaged the continent, leaving behind a trail of death, despair, and cities reduced to ashes. As the conflict neared its bitter end, chaos and greed consumed the land. In the midst of this carnage, during the final siege of Prague, the Swedish army swept through the city like a plague, looting treasures of unimaginable value. Among their spoils was an object so peculiar, so massive, it defied logic, a book larger than any they had ever seen. This was the Codex Gigas, a name that simply means giant book in Latin, but its reputation was anything but simple. Standing at an astonishing 36 inches in length, 20 inches wide, and nearly 9 inches thick, this manuscript weighed 165 pounds heavier than most modern televisions. It was no ordinary book. Crafted from 160 donkey skins, its 305 pages of vellum covered a staggering 1,500 square feet when laid flat. Even among the large illuminated manuscripts of the Romanesque era, the Codex Gigas was in a league of its own, dwarfing every other tome of its kind. But it wasn't its size that made it infamous, it was what lay within its pages that terrified and intrigued in equal measure. The book was cursed, or so it was whispered. It bore an image so blasphemous, so haunting, that it was banned by the church. A full page minus 36 inches high was devoted entirely to a grotesque depiction of the devil. Not a subtle symbol or passing mention, but a striking, vivid portrait of Satan himself, staring back at the viewer. This was unheard of in any Christian manuscript. While most Bibles condemned Satan in words, no other dared to immortalize him in art, let alone give him a page of his own. It was for this reason the Codex Gigas earned its notorious nickname, the Devil's Bible. Believed to have been written in the early 1300s within the Benedictine monastery of Podlazis, in what is now the Czech Republic, the Codex Gigas is not merely a Bible. It is a vault of knowledge containing the entirety of the Latin Vulgate Bible, alongside Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews and De Bello Judaico, Cosmas of Prague's Chronica Boemorum, 2 medical texts by Constantine the African, and even a formula for practicing magic. It is, quite literally, an encyclopedia of medieval knowledge, religious, historical, and occult. But what makes this manuscript even more enigmatic is not just its contents or its size, but the chilling mystery of its creation. Who wrote it? Why was it made? And perhaps most hauntingly, what drove its creator to include an image of the devil so bold, so prominent, that it forever marked this book as forbidden. The Codex Gigas also includes medical and scientific information and the complete encyclopedia of Saint Isidore of Seville. For those who don't know Saint Isidore of Seville wrote numerous books, including a dictionary, an encyclopedia, a history of Goths, and a history of the world beginning with creation. He is the last scholar of the ancient world and the patron saint of the internet. This is the very man after whom the idea of the internet is modeled, and his whole book is in the Codex Gigas, which should tell you how extensive this book is. Basically, this was the internet of the 16th century. Any useful information you needed could be found in the Codex Gigas. The Codex Gigas, also known as the Devil's Bible, stands out not only for its massive size, but also for its cultural, academic value and the legends surrounding it. When compared to other medieval manuscripts like the Book of Kells or the Lindisfarne Gospels, the Codex Gigas takes on the character of an encyclopedia, containing a wealth of knowledge far beyond that of a typical Bible. While the Book of Kells focuses on vibrant illustrations for evangelization, and the Lindisfarne Gospels showcase dynamic Anglo-Saxon artistry, the Codex Gigas is remarkable for its comprehensive content, encompassing the Bible, history, medicine, and even magic. Reflecting an expansive vision of medieval knowledge. The craftsmanship behind this book is equally impressive, from the 160 donkey skins processed manually to its precise writing and intricate decorations. Every detail speaks to the skill and dedication of the scribe. However, its most controversial feature is the full-page illustration of Satan, positioned in stark contrast to the image of heaven on the opposite page. These two illustrations not only highlight the duality of good and evil, but also serve as a philosophical reminder of humanity's moral choices. From a modern scientific perspective, the consistency of handwriting across 600 pages raises intriguing questions. Handwriting analysis suggests that the entire manuscript might have been created by a single individual in an unusually short time, fueling speculation about supernatural intervention or even a pact with the devil. Conversely, some modern scholars propose that it could have been a collaborative effort among monks, though no conclusive evidence supports this theory. The Codex Gigas has also made its way into popular culture, appearing in films and video games like Assassin's Creed and The Witcher, often portrayed as an ancient source of knowledge, power, and danger. According to legend, the Codex is said to have been written by Herman, a Benedictine monk who lived in the 1300s near the town of Trutnov. This name is actually signed in the Codex Gigas as Hermanus Inclusus. The name of the monk is written as Hermanus, which means Herman, and the Latin word inclusus can mean either punishment or voluntary isolation. According to the story, Herman broke his vows to be a monk and was punished by being walled up alive, essentially cut off from seeing another human being for the rest of his life. Herman begged for his life, promising that he would create and finish a book that contained all the information on earth, and that would rival any other book of its kind, bringing fame to the monastery. These conditions put forward by Herman were pleasing to the monks, so they agreed to free him only when he finished a book of such magnitude. Plus, this task would have taken so many years to complete that, either way, he would still remain locked up, providing a win-win situation for the monks. However, this is according to legend, meaning there are many versions of this story. In a different version, Herman was locked up and left to die of thirst or hunger as punishment for his sins. But after pleading with the abbot to create the book, he was given 1 year to finish the work. If he succeeded, he would not only be forgiven but also set free. Back then, there was an old medieval belief that it was possible to atone for your sins by simply copying holy texts. This is why Herman proposed copying texts as punishment. As the end of the year drew near, Herman realized that he couldn't complete the task. Even a castle filled with monks couldn't finish such a task. How could just one man? He was sorry for his sins, but he knew they wouldn't listen. Breaking a monastic vow was a serious offense back then. Many small details in the Codex Gigas point to a possible guilt lurking in the author's mind. Among the pages of the manuscript is also a long list of sinful confessions. This text differs from the rest of the Codex Gigas. It becomes clear that the monk was begging for forgiveness across 5 entire pages, describing his every sin in detail. Bible scholars and avid readers might understand the connection here, especially from the Book of Psalms, where one chapter may speak of happiness and the next of sorrow or guilt. Despite his best efforts, Herman was just one man, given an almost impossible task. Time was running out for him. There was only one option left, and it went against his beliefs and faith. But not wanting to die, he did the unthinkable. He made contact with the devil. Herman allegedly agreed to a deal, offering his soul in exchange for help and the superhuman ability to complete the codex. The devil agreed to the deal, but with one condition: a page had to be dedicated to an image of him. Herman agreed to this condition, and when his time was up, he submitted a complete book to a confused and shocked abbot. Due to the conditions of their deal, Herman was set free. Page 577 became the infamous page featuring the drawing of the devil, which skyrocketed the book's notoriety around the world. The picture shows a horned monster with red horns, a green face, a forked tongue, and clawed arms outstretched. The doubling of tongues evokes negative associations with serpents, which have forked tongues, creating a metaphorical reference to dishonest human beings. At first, this story might sound like a tale cooked up to add intrigue and mystery to the book. However, when you hear about other mysteries surrounding it, you begin to see that it might be more than just a story. Even the Bible is a collection of books written by different authors. But how could one person write a book this large, with over 600 pages, all by themselves? We know this book was written by one person because handwriting analysis shows that it remains consistent from beginning to end. The National Library of Sweden provided some perspective on this enormous project. According to their analysis, if the monk worked for 6 hours a day and 6 days a week, the manuscript could have taken about 5 years to complete. While this doesn't sound impossible, if the scribe was also a monk performing other monastic duties, assuming he wasn't walled up, as the legend claims, he might have only worked for about 3 hours a day. This means the manuscript could have taken 10 years to write. Additionally, the scribe might have ruled the lines to guide the writing, which was common practice back then to prevent errors or personal interpretations in the text. Ruling one leaf could take several hours, further extending the time required to complete the manuscript. The scribe also decorated the manuscript, which added to the workload. All these factors suggest that the manuscript probably took at least 20 to 30 years to finish. Interestingly, this timeline coincides with the 30 Years' War, giving some credibility to the idea that the book's creation spanned decades. However, handwriting analysis reveals something puzzling. The text is so consistent that it appears as though the person who wrote it never aged, got sick, or even experienced changes in mood throughout the process. This consistency suggests that the book might have been written in a very short span of time, contradicting the extended timeline proposed by experts. Normally, even subtle changes in handwriting occur over time due to subconscious or conscious shifts in a person's habits, health, or emotional state. Yet these changes are entirely absent in the Codex Gigas, which is difficult to explain. The book also features enormous capital letters printed in red ink, disproportionately enlarged to span 5 to 6 lines. These letters are placed in the margins and are less significant than other textual breaks, like the beginnings of verses, which are highlighted with yellowish ink that surrounds the letter shapes. This intricate and consistent style of decoration appears to be the personal touch of the writer and is maintained throughout the manuscript's 600 pages. Could the legend of a deal with the devil explain this extraordinary feat? It doesn't help that 10 pages of the book were stolen at some point. These weren't lost due to natural causes like fire or decay. They were deliberately ripped out. Some speculate that these pages contained information about hell, such as instructions on how to open its gates or summon the devil. According to this theory, a Satanist might have stolen the pages to keep the information hidden, creating an exclusive members-only access to the forbidden knowledge. The remaining pages following the missing ones contain writings on magical spells and demonic conjurations, fueling the speculation that the stolen content was similarly occult in nature. The book's journey through history has also added to its ominous reputation, with some claiming it is cursed. The Benedictine Abbey in Bohemia, where the book is believed to have been created, eventually fell into financial ruin. This was once a wealthy monastery that attracted merchants from afar, yet it became so impoverished that the monks were forced to sell the Codex Gigas, their most valuable possession. The book was purchased by the Benedictine monastery in Brumov, but misfortune followed it there as well. The monastery suffered destruction during the havoc of the Bohemian Revolt. The Codex Gigas remained in Brumov until 1593, when it was loaned to Rudolf II, the Holy Roman Emperor. However, the book never returned to the monastery. Rudolf II became obsessed with occult practices while in possession of the Codex, to the point that it affected his mental health and his ability to rule. His family eventually removed him from power, and he died 9 months later. 6 years after Rudolf's death, the 30 Years' War began. During the war, the Swedish army seized the book and brought it to Sweden, where it was stored in the royal castle of Stockholm. In 1697, a mysterious fire broke out in the castle, destroying much of the royal library. The head librarian ordered his men to save as many books as possible, including the Codex Gigas, by throwing them out of the windows. Although the books survived, the cause of the fire remains unknown, and the incident contributed to the Codex's eerie reputation. Currently, the Codex Gigas is housed in the National Library of Sweden. However, even there, strange incidents have been reported. In 1858, a guard who fell asleep in the library claimed to have witnessed an inexplicable event. All the books in the library reportedly came off their shelves, moved toward the Codex Gigas, and began to dance around it. The Codex itself allegedly joined the dance. When the guard was found the next morning, he was incoherent and had to be admitted to an asylum. In 1870, August Strindberg, a librarian at the royal castle, claimed to hear strange voices emanating from the Codex Gigas. These unsettling accounts only add to the book's mystique. When you examine the history of the Codex Gigas, from its creation to its present location, it's hard not to wonder whether the legends and curses surrounding it could be true. Despite its mysterious reputation, the Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible, is not actually satanic. The only reason it is associated with the devil is because of the single image of the devil within its pages. If you were to remove that image, the book would appear to be a comprehensive collection of texts, much like other medieval manuscripts. In fact, right next to the devil's image is an illustration of heaven, which often goes unnoticed because it is not controversial enough to attract attention. The illustration of heaven depicts a city with houses and towers, surrounded by walls and two larger buildings. This heavenly city was likely meant to inspire ideas of hope and salvation, serving as a stark contrast to the devil's image on the opposite page. Taken together, these two images were probably intended to illustrate the eternal outcomes of living a good or bad life. Supporting this interpretation, the text preceding the image of heaven discusses penance, while the text following the devil's image contains exorcism prayers. This arrangement suggests that the monk intended to convey a moral lesson: those who repent and seek forgiveness may reach heaven, while those who stray into sin may require exorcism. The Codex Gigas contains only two full-page illustrations, the devil and the heavenly city, highlighting their significance within the manuscript. Unfortunately, the story the author hoped to communicate through these contrasting images has been overshadowed and twisted over time, leading to the book's infamous reputation as a product of the devil's influence. It's worth noting that no one truly knows what the devil looks like. In Genesis, he appears as a serpent. According to the Bible, the devil was one of the most beautiful beings God ever created. If he were to commission a portrait of himself, it's likely he would prefer one that rivals the Mona Lisa. This raises the question: was the devil's image in the Codex Gigas meant to be taken literally, or was it purely symbolic? The missing 10 pages, often cited as evidence of satanic content, are believed to have contained the rule of Saint Benedict. These pages were known to be missing after the 1697 fire at the royal castle of Stockholm. Prior to the fire, the codex was intact, suggesting that the pages may have been damaged or lost during the chaos. While some argue that 10 pages could not possibly contain an entire set of monastic rules, they fail to account for the book's massive size. If the Codex Gigas could hold complete editions of more than 7 different books in 600 pages, it's reasonable to believe that 10 pages could accommodate the rule of Saint Benedict. Other pages, such as the beginning of the book of Genesis, are also missing from the Codex, but these omissions have attracted less attention, likely because they lack the same air of controversy. As for the claim that the Codex Gigas was banned, this is not entirely accurate. The book was never officially banned, rather, it was not accepted as part of the Christian canon. This decision is understandable, as the Codex Gigas functions more like an encyclopedia than a traditional Bible. Its contents include a calendar, historical accounts, medical texts, and even the alphabet, making it a comprehensive reference rather than a purely religious text. Contrary to conspiracy theories, the Codex Gigas is not hidden from the public. It is displayed at the National Library of Sweden, where anyone can view it. This transparency dispels the notion that the book is reserved for a select few with hidden agendas. Lastly, there are no real curses associated with the Codex Gigas. The unfortunate events linked to the book, such as the 30 Years' War, the Bohemian Revolt, and the fire at the royal castle, were coincidental. The Codex Gigas was not present during these events or directly responsible for them. In reality, the Codex Gigas is a masterpiece of historical documentation, created in devotion to God and Christianity, rather than a tool of satanic influence. The Codex Gigas serves as a remarkable testament to the ingenuity and dedication of medieval scribes. Its sheer size, complexity, and the breadth of its content are unparalleled. Though shrouded in mystery, much of the intrigue surrounding it is rooted in legend rather than fact. The idea that it was created in a single night through a deal with the devil is likely a tale spun to enhance its mystique, rather than a reflection of reality. The book's history is fascinating, not because it is cursed or satanic, but because of the enormous effort and craftsmanship that went into its creation. Its pages contain a wealth of knowledge from the 13th century, offering insights into the intellectual, spiritual, and cultural priorities of the time. From the Vulgate Bible to medical texts, historical chronicles, and even magical formulas, the Codex Gigas was essentially a medieval repository of human understanding. Rather than viewing the Codex Gigas as an ominous artifact, it can be appreciated for what it truly is: a monumental achievement in the history of bookmaking. Its legends and controversies may draw attention, but its true value lies in its content and the historical window it provides into the medieval world. For those who visit the National Library of Sweden to see it in person, the Codex Gigas stands as a powerful reminder of the enduring human quest for knowledge and understanding. The Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible, stands as a testament to the boundless ambition of the human spirit, a blend of mystery, craftsmanship, and historical significance that transcends centuries. While the legends of a pact with the devil or its supposed curses may spark our imagination, the true marvel of this manuscript lies in its content and the extraordinary effort behind its creation. From the intricate artwork to the profound knowledge contained within its pages, the Codex Gigas is not just a relic of the past, it is a bridge between medieval intellect and modern curiosity. It reminds us of the power of perseverance, the complexity of human belief, and the enduring quest for understanding that defines our history. Whether you view it as a symbol of faith, fear, or the incredible ingenuity of its creators, the Codex Gigas challenges us to look beyond the myths and appreciate it as a masterpiece that continues to inspire awe. As it sits in the National Library of Sweden, open to all who wish to explore its mysteries, one thing remains certain: the Devil's Bible still has the power to captivate, provoke, and ignite the imagination of anyone who dares to turn its pages.